Hello, my lovelies. It is Hazel, and this video is coming to you from Hazel Anaka Design YouTube channel. It is day 97 of the 100-day project, and this video is especially geared towards beginners. If you are anything like I was in the beginning, you are both mesmerized and terrified, perhaps, about this whole concept, this whole world of junk journals, bookbinding, bookmaking, paper crafting, and so on. I know that I was intrigued. I was hooked. I thought that all my skill sets and all my interests were coming together in a wonderful intersection of creativity. But I also knew it was like speaking a new language. I didn't know what half the things were that people were talking about. And there was certainly a lot of direct and indirect messaging around the maybe least favorite part of the process, which is sewing in signatures. So, that doesn't really help inspire a beginner's confidence or make a person think, yes, I've got to try that. Everyone else hates doing it. Excuse me. So I guess I wanted to do this video because I think maybe it could be a gateway drug to actually sewn in bindings at some point. I think a lot of us love thrifting. And one thing that everybody sees often, I'd put my money on it, are these sorts of little binders that are photo albums. So they come with a variety of styles or contents of, photo pockets. Most of the time, for a while there, I was on a crusade buying these kinds of things because I thought the top-loading pockets were great for storing ephemera. But I ended up with because they're kind of tiny, 6.5. This one is 6.5 by 6.25. So you need, if you have as much stuff as I do and have done as much fussy cutting as I have, you need several of these. And I had labels on the spine and so on. Anyway, long story short, I've since moved to something else. So the beauty of this kind of a system is that there's nothing to be sewn in. This particular one has 2 rings. Of course, depending on the overall size, there could be 3, there could be 5, perhaps even 6. So basically the whole concept, regardless of what it looks like or what it started out as, it could have been a sort of a day planner, day timer, day runner, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of these kinds of things out there. So I don't remember what was in this one, but I have a weakness for these. I should turn on some light, guys. I have a weakness for these sorts of old world maps and that sort of thing. It was also in good condition. None of the corners are beat up or anything like that. And it will be easy enough to decorate. So obviously this needs to be covered, so the possibilities are definitely there. The spine looks pretty good. There will never be any, signature threads showing there. So I can do whatever I want. So basically what I thought we'd do today is just show you the variety of papers and types of papers and sorts of papers that could find their way in here. And if we do this with the idea that there are no bad choices and there are no wrong choices and anything can be made to work, and let's throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at it, then this is an easy first project. Now, of course, all we're talking about today, essentially, is getting some pages into here. But this, of course, front and back, can be can and would be decorated at some point. That spine is 1 7/8, so it's a generous size spine. And I've kind of run around here picking up a variety of papers that I thought could work. And if we use everything that or even all the categories I've selected, we'll end up with about 3,000 pages. So the first thing to do, I guess, is to figure out what the overall size of and I should have a piece of paper to write this down. The only aerobic exercise I get is reaching for stuff that is just out of my grasp. And that is almost the truth, people, so it's kind of scary. So if I measure from where this finishing paper is glued down, that's basically 6 1/4 high by, say, 4 3/4. And we all know that the 4 3/4, or the width, is, kind of a wild card sometimes, because that should be fine in this case, because in a sewn signature, the inside pages of a signature tend to get pushed out, and then if you're anything like me, you have to trim more often than not, or creatively fold or something like that. Okay, so the other thing I did when I did these, and I don't even remember when I did these first few pages, is I have a piece of, heavier cardboard, and I made this template that, oh, you know what? Instead of measuring that, I should have measured this, and let's see if it's the same. And I also marked it with, so I did, 6 1/4. So I also marked top, because, things are not exactly always even in the world of anything. So you can see that I made a mark lining up with those 2 rings. And likewise, I made another mark, I'm sure that's 1/4 inch, yes, that would indicate how far from the edge of the paper I would need to be. So once you have your template, obviously you then use something like this, just these office punches to do your holes. Now I'll show you the pages that I have in here. Now, sometimes I like this book because it looks old. It's got that sort of scripty font, and now those, I must have probably either divided the page in half or taken off some images, and that's why I've got these little oddball sizes. So with something like this, we would want to, if they're not full size, you might want to stagger them a bit. And then this was out of a ledger, and of course it's far too big, but what I did was sort of fold it to get that width, and then punched it like so. So let's see how we're doing. So you can see that none of them are going to be sticking out beyond the edge of the thing. Okay, so quite often in thrift stores, you see those 2-hole punches, and I'm sure that I've never, whipped out a tape measure or anything to see what the spacing is between the 2 holes. I suspect it's about 4 inches. Maybe 3.5 to 4 inches. And I'm sure that was a uniform size that was being used at the time for certain office documents. Now, okay, so what is the distance between these 2 rings? Now, if I knew, okay, that's almost 3 1/4. If I knew for sure that one of those 2-hole punches would be the cat's meow and would work in more than one binder, then it would probably be worthwhile buying one at a thrift store, because that's a lot easier than doing this, and it would also hopefully be more uniform and the other thing to consider would be whether or not the spacing is right. But again, we don't need to rush out and buy anything because we're perfectly capable of punching some holes on our own. Okay, so let me show you a bunch of things and how I would approach them. I brought a bunch of, these are 6x6s, and these are, who knows what these are. But, you know, oh, sorry. I hope I didn't get you in the eye with my ruler. Okay, this is 4.5 by 6.5. So we know that obviously, and in fact, since this is landscape, why don't we do that right now? Now we'll want to make sure that it's sort of tall enough that the paper will not, you know, that the two holes will catch, because catching this with only one hole would be kind of a mistake, because they would tend to, you know, flip out of the thing. So I'm just going to fold some random papers, and then later on we can worry about doing some punching. And again, you know, it's not rocket science. Anyone and everyone can do that. So let's see what else is here. And again, we don't want to, and I'm kind of looking for more landscapey type things. Okay, this toile is pretty nice, but do I want to? Again, I shouldn't be so, I thought I was breaking the habit of saving the good stuff for some magical day in the future. But in this case, I will save the 12. My rules, I can break them. Okay, so there's that orientation of paper. Then there are these, these, and this is only a fraction of what I have, trust me. Oh, here's something also strange. These are 6x6s. So again, a million patterns. Some are from actual paper pads, some are more dollar store variety. I gravitated to colors and designs that I like, as would you. Okay, so maybe let's throw caution to the wind and just pretend that this is going to be a playtime journal, and we're not looking to make it so artistic and gorgeous that we're afraid to make a mark in it. Let's just maybe use things that we're not particularly fond of, but they've been kicking around a long time, and they should be used. Again, why am I flipping through this so many times? So we'll take a couple of those. I don't know why is this? Is this 4 by... Smaller than that. Okay, 4.5 by... Oh, so why did it get separated from this part? Those are party papers. Party papers. Okay, so we've used 6x6s. We've used some of these 4.5 by 6.5s. They are not going to obviously make a traditional type page, because if we were trying to do that, we would be looking for something that is nearly, that would be 9.5 inches wide, and these things are not. However, there are more pads to the rescue. Now you can see that that's an awfully thick one. Paid $1 for it. Oh, and these are coloring pages, so of course we want to, and it's got a mixture of cards in it. So how are we doing height-wise? And again, that's not going to be a deal breaker for us. Let's pretend we're making this into an art journal. So even if the paper is mostly black, we can make that work. This is like almost a cardstock weight, so maybe we'll just do one of those. Yeah, let's do a couple of these dark ones that might be harder to use in other applications. So these are, is that perforated? Yes, it is. So we're going to rip that off. Sometimes these little strips have, you know, a full design on them, and it might be a good thing to save and use, but those I'm going to discard. So, okay, how wide is this? 8. So it's going to be close, and I don't know why I tend to fold things with the printed side out. So let's break that habit and do printed side in. Sometimes if the image is really beautiful and I don't want it sort of divided in half, I will make that my center fold. Now this one can easily be divided in half because that's just the nature of it. Oh, I haven't been, why didn't you remind me that I haven't been folding? Let's keep caught up with the folding. So this one I'll just do in half because then we'll end up with staggered width pages as well. Maybe this one will be like so. This is thin. I'm not worrying about burnishing it with my bone folder, but of course I could. Now this is going to, oh no, this will be fine because it's only 6 inches, yeah. I'm going to keep it this way because it's that way the alphabet remains readable. And maybe this one will be slightly different, a different fold. Now, of course, as you get more daring and more experienced in journal making, some of these short pages can be extended. But that, again, that's not really what we're talking about today. And there are videos that cover that, and I'm sure that I've done it as well. Just going to cut this open so we can see what we have here. Now, I might not take anything out of this one. In fact, I don't think I will. This one, paid 99 cents, designer matte pad. So it's textural. I think I would save this for a different use. Not hoarding, you understand, just saving for a different application. Now, at some place that I was shopping, I found a bunch of these sets. So a lot of these papers are not the most attractive in the world. And I should actually almost sort them by color, and maybe I'd be using them more. They are, and it's, yeah, it's like it's a pad that's been glued. So 8 by 8.5. So that means, okay, our height, 6 1/4. So if we use a, so this one is already loose, so let's use that one. And maybe we won't bother, we'll just use one because again, we're going to end up with far too much and far too long a video. Okay, so we know that this, what did I say, 8 inches tall and 8 1/4 wide. So, we have a couple of options. We can turn up whatever that would be, whatever it would take to make that 6 1/4 or 5 1/2 or whatever we choose. Well, let's just randomly do that. And you know, it's surprising. You can line up the factory edge on one side or the other. Let's just see. We don't want to be just my style to fold it and realize, oh, still too tall, and then end up with another crease. Okay, so that is roughly, that's less than our maximum height. Okay, so we've done that. Oh, I was started to say, you can line up a factory edge and still end up having it go crooked. So don't ask me how that happens. Now, it's nice that this is printed on both sides. That's really a plus. I should use these papers more. I said it was 8.5 wide, so we can maybe just roughly, or do we want that a bit? Still be within the, yeah, let's have that little, that fancy edge there extend beyond for a bit of interest. And again, no idea how this is going to, how these pages are going to be arranged, how they're going to be decorated. But at this point, it doesn't matter. And we are so talented and so flexible and so, easygoing that no matter what however we do it, we can make it work. So there's that. Should we take a break and maybe do some hole punching? Just so we can see how this is beginning to fill up. And again, these pages are not going to be in the right or final order. So I'm basically lining up my template with, getting it flush with that edge. A little tricky maybe to hold it all in place, but you probably can't see because of hands. Maybe what I'll do is just open the rings and throw them right into the binder as I do them. And maybe with these thin guys, I will do, well, I'll do these two because they're the same height. Again, kind of, if it's directional, you want to, well, one thing, you definitely want to make sure you're punching it on the folded side of the paper. And you're also wanting to, if it's directional, make sure that you've got the paper lined up correctly. So the top of the paper is with the top of the template. Now these guys are all the same height. So we can punch through. And the paper is thin. Now, I guess the disadvantage or the consideration is that if I'm punching them all at the same time, they're all going to sit in the same place in the journal. So maybe we don't want that. Maybe I should just do this letter one sort of centered, or this typewriter one sort of centered. And again, if we were trying to split an atom here or doing something that requires real precision. Oh my goodness. This template is a bit thick almost. Then, maybe I'd paper clip the template so it doesn't slip and I don't have to be as careful holding it down. So maybe these I will offset slightly. Just making sure that between the two of them, they're not taller than, mind you, we do want to make sure that that everything gets 2 holes punched in it. So how does that work with the template? It would, okay, that's not good because look how close that is to that edge and so close to that edge. So I'm going to shimmy this over a bit and also still be aware of where those holes are going to hit on each particular page. So I don't want to miss the boat here. So I'm sliding it a little closer to the top on this side. And again, they're all ending up in the binder, just kind of, what the heck? What the heck? Come on. It's only 2 pieces of paper. Is this thing wanting to crap out on me? I don't know. I'm sure I've got more of these somewhere because you see them in thrift stores often, and even brand new at the dollar store. They're not, they're cheap. Okay, now we have also 2 pages out of the coloring book, and we know that that's good, so we can kind of center this or offset it a bit. Maybe on this one, since it's thicker, since I'm struggling to get through paper, we'll do them separately. And the variety of heights actually works quite well. And it gives, again, if this is your first journal attempt, it gives you opportunity. I don't know if it's something with this template. If that whole, see, this one is closer, this one is further away. So that's probably why I'm struggling here. So despite, oh my goodness, despite having made the crosshairs there, I obviously didn't punch it very well. Let's see if I can chisel away at that a bit. Or maybe let's try just enlarging this whole hair. So I'm still going to line up the page flush with the paper I'm doing, but at least now the punch shouldn't really get hung up on the... Okay. Oh, I didn't do this one yet. Maybe this one, I'll have the top flush so these papers will not all land at the same place in the binder. Oh, and I was going to, of course, do a little show and tell of the of reinforcements. But sometimes when I put things away in a very safe and secure place, it's so safe and so secure that even I don't know where they are. So you may, if you're old enough, have seen reinforcements. I think it may have been the Hilroy brand that was those, kind of a bright green box with little reinforcement design on the cover. So that's how they used to come. So they were individual, and they were gummed. More current packaging has them on sheets, and they're stickers. Now the sheets are pretty convenient if you want to take your brush and one of your ink pads, like Distress Photo or maybe one of the other brownish tones, and just, go over the whole sheet at a time, and then you've got a whole bunch of distress stickers reinforcements ready to use. Now, eventually I will find mine, and if I feel that the paper is particularly fragile, which may be the case with book page, then obviously a person would glue on some reinforcements to just secure them. And you could also choose to do that just from an aesthetic point of view. Now this is, oh, see, that would be pretty close. These are Norman Rockwell images. And again, far too nice to use one side and lose the other. So what I'm going to do here is lay this down. So basically, if I leave the date intact, I guess I can't very well leave the date intact. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, maybe I should use my tearing one instead. I'm just going to cheat a bit, take a little bit off that image there. Oh, I thought it went crooked. Oh, it just went easier when I was... Never mind. Never mind. Still going to be a bit too tall. So I'm just going to kind of roughen up the bottom edge there by taking a little bit of... Maybe I'll just try to remove those dates. And then I can use a page like this in there. Of course, it's too wide because we're only allowed 4 3/4. Oh, so if I cut it right along there, that would be perfect. Or, of course, the other option, and maybe I'll do that in this case just to keep our options open. I'll just fold it along the edge of the image, and that'll work lovely, beautifully in there. We'll start a little pile. The other day I bought an old, or not the other day, but recently I bought an old, one of those Stampington and Company magazines. I haven't cut into any of the ones that I bought and paid an arm and a leg for, but I did find this used one, and in each issue, don't know if they're still doing that, but in each issue they had some of this heavier paper. I don't know why they do all that. Well, I guess they want to give credit, but still it's not that useful in the context that we do it. So it's something that would need to be covered up. So because I just ripped these out the other day, I haven't put them away. So wouldn't it be a good time to, I'll use this one since it's kind of ratty-ish, the way I tore it out. Okay, so we have 6 1/4, which means that if I make one full size, then this one will be, sorry, you probably can't see that, 6 1/4, then that means that this will be only, okay, quick, who's got the answer? Put up your hand. 4 1/2, almost 4 1/2. So I think rather than that, I'll probably just, to make it easy, put this, fold this in half, and let that be my tear line. So we will be within the height restriction that we have. And we will, let's do it this way. And then, of course, these pages will get decorated in some form or another when that work begins in the book. So I'm folding both of them with the design side in. I don't like this, but it'll probably get covered up, so that's fine. So we'll throw those there. I was at a garage sale and I saw this in a package and it was $1, so I thought, yay. And I said to the lady, what is this? And she says, oh, those are rub-ons. And I thought, I don't think so. And I should have opened it there, but I thought, for $1, I'm buying it. I don't care what it is. And it turns out that it's tissue paper, which is even better. I thought I was going to use it in this, but you know what? Tissue paper is pretty precious. And punching holes in this would be would weaken the paper, which is already weak to begin with. So we'll save this for another day and another usage. I also, well, let me bring this in. You know, I said I was running around collecting stuff. So typically I'll do something and you know, if I don't stop immediately to put it in its right place, I end up with piles. So how do I find things? Well, I just go and look at the piles. So this, I was obviously trying out some stamps on some dyed paper. So why don't I, let me fold that up so I can get a little more into frame here. So I'm just going to tear this the rest of the way, roughly lining that straight edge up with the, and there is a fold there, but that's, well, what the heck, let's fold it where we have it. Again, and I'll tell you why I'm going to leave this as it is. Because if this becomes your first journal and a place for you to experiment and try things out, that would be a perfect place to try a repair. Now, you could do that with Scotch tape, masking tape, washi tape. You could glue something over it. You could use faux vintage tape. So that's why I'm leaving that. And this, of course, is too wide. So we will perhaps do this and make a little tuck. Now, whether or not that stays ragged like that, I don't know. But we're going to throw that in there. And maybe we'll put this aside to be used another day. I don't know what this is other than, well, that's some kind of metallic-y paint. So let's fold this up. So I want to encourage you to see everything for the possibilities. Not necessarily what it is now, but the possibilities. Let's see. And that's still within our size, so that's good. Now, if this ends up being kind of an art journal-y thing or a place for experimentation, then that becomes a base page, and it's less intimidating than a pristine, you know, shield your eyes because it's so white kind of paper. This is some kind of vintage graph paper with a very tiny grid on it. Just folding it. So this will be a very small thing. Like once I punch the holes in it, that'll be a very small thing. So that page will need extension. And that's another perfect place to experiment. So obviously I was trying out some stamps here. Maybe these things. This one is a bit wider. Yeah, we'll use one of those. The rest of these I will put aside to use in collage work. But again, you know, sometimes you're busy and you're on to the next thing, especially if you're trying to make videos, you know, with some frequency. You just go on to the next thing without ever adequately putting things away. So now, there are some more stamp things that I did. These are my own stamps, by the way. I have a video about that early on. Oops. These are more stamps of my own as well. So I'm going to, this wasn't supposed to be an organizational video, but I'm going to basically put all this together knowing that at some point I need to pull it out and, oopsie, and use it. But at least like is with like. Who thought that in a creative endeavor like this, that a person would have so much filing to do? Again, is this the best use of these papers? I could, okay, let's kind of tear this where the designs change. This could be a good you know, a base page for the journal. Oh, see, and by doing that, okay, the impulse is always to, do I have an example here? Okay, so on this one, I have my little skinny fold there, but that means that that will always be kind of a right-facing, a right-sided page. By doing it on this side, it becomes this kind, the left side. So it doesn't hurt to mix it up in that way. And maybe this one I'll just kind of roughly fold in the middle. Now these are, maybe they're getting too small. This is something different. This is a piece, was this a bag? No, this is like, oh, what do you call it? Parchment paper, because it's got that serrated edge that the cutter, oh, and I didn't fold this one yet. Let's fold this. This is still going to be, yeah. So this is nice. It's an old book page. There will be, you know, there's mostly a wide open space on the back side. Plus, that's a nice base for, nice and crunchy. Let's do the same thing again. No, that's the opposite. Let's do it this way. All I have to do is turn it over since it's not directional. Come on, Hazel. These are those woven sheets that I did, but I don't think we'll, mind you, that might be a good thing. But if I punch it, I could do it that way. But then this back's, okay, well, the back side will need to be, okay, let's just go for it. But what happens at the 4 3/4 mark? We would end up with potentially this. Did I glue those? No, I didn't. I think we'll use this another time. I don't want to get into the, of it having, I don't want it to start unraveling, is what I'm trying to spit out here. In this folder, I have some of this paper that is kind of garish looking. This is stationery, you know, if you were doing an invitation or sending someone a letter. Let's pick one of these. And see, I'm just throwing this on a pile beside me, which means that if I don't file this after the video, I will end up with new piles. New piles. So let's just tear. And how are we doing for time? Let me stand up. Ooh, 43 minutes. Now this is very important content, so maybe I'm not going to feel too bad about the time. But I will speed things along. I'll just fold this so we have 2. Now, what else? This is a little card. This could be punched. Now, of course, I could have taken the time to look for something bigger, and I probably will, because I can accommodate that. This, if you saw that video on my first attempt at rusting, I love, love, love this so much. You cannot believe how much I love it. But let me tell you one thing that I've learned since then. So my first video was basically revealing what had rusted in those 2 jars. The next day's video showed me dyeing things, paper and mostly fabric. And of course, then I set it out all those pieces, set them out to dry. Now, when you touch them after the fact, they are extremely gritty. So I Googled, handling rusted fabric. And of course, most of them are saying, oh, how do you get rust stains out of fabric? Well, that's not what I wanted. I did not want to remove the rust stains. I just wanted to know if I had to rinse all these things in clear water to get that sediment off. So what I found, and I will, what I should do, see, I can't edit though. I'll probably just have to say it verbally. There is a website, and I didn't write down the name of the woman, but she has sort of a Q&A on her homepage, and basically it says that you need to neutralize the pH of the fabric by rinsing it in a water and baking soda solution. So that's what I did, and now those things are all hanging on quilt racks and towel racks, drying. But of course, I didn't do that to paper. So the essence of what she said is that those fabrics you need to do that about once a year, because whatever is making the rust happen will continue over time to keep rusting something. So it's a very nice effect, but it is not without its, I don't want to say dangers, but it's, sort of precautions. So anyway, we'll put that in there just because we have it. I think it seems to me I made this back in my short-lived card making. Can't use it. It's too wide. So we'll leave that for another day. This, I'm not sure if I did this or somebody else did. It's cardstock, and somebody was playing around with those fancy edgers. Now this might be, I'll set this aside as well. But if you had a piece that fit, because I don't have that, but I suppose I could, well, what the heck, we said we were resilient and creative. So 6 1/4, we don't want a dinky little pocket, so maybe I'll fold it up like, be aware of your holes. Yeah, that'll work. A more substantial pocket. So, again, don't know where this came from. Now it's going to be too wide, probably. Well, maybe this paper, laying it down my grid here, lining up the spine on a line, and we see 4, so it's not much. I'm going to rip this. Let's make it 4 1/2. That's assuming that I can unfold it. Come on, Hazel. You can unfold it. You don't have to have superhuman strength. So I'm lining it up at roughly the 4 1/2 inch mark. I'm ripping. And I'll do the other side. Again, lined up on the, I was going to say on the seam, but on the fold. This could be wider, narrower. Let's maybe do this side at 4 inches, just because we can. So we won't look totally goofy. The top and bottom designs will match, the outer edge will match. Now, of course, at the time of actually beginning to use this, well, let's just punch this and see. Kind of want that centered, which means that my troublesome hole is going to be right in the thickest part of the paper. Oh, okay, I gotta go lie down. I'm not that weak and puny. Okay, now when it comes time to actually use this to make the folding work better, what I would probably do, let's do it right now, is just cut, you know, barely past the edge of that score line. So it's giving a little breathing space. Now it is also making this really, the holes really close to the edge there. So these probably would need reinforcing. Oh, you know what? That's not so good. Because you can see that they, well, okay, let's pretend we had other things. Yeah, it still binds a bit. So the other classic thing would be, let's do this together so that they have some symmetry. So that will fold better because there's some of that material has been removed and it's less a tight squeezer. Okay, I'll show you a couple more things. Oh, never even got to the book pages. Okay, I'll show you the few things that I yet wanted to go. So something like this, you know, when I finished that checkbook, I could have thrown this in the garbage. Instead, I will just fold it. Now that is 4 inches, so that will still work. Here are some of the, you know, I like to pre-cut and pre-fold wallpaper borders so that they start flattening out. I don't know why this one is goofy. Probably got bent, a second crease in it when I was clipping it. Okay, so I'll clip these guys back together. And let's see what we can make happen with this. Okay, how tall is it? 3, 6 3/4. So that's about 1/2 inch too much. So that means I'm going to sacrifice this top. I'm going to trim off where that pink line is. And of course, I'm going to wrestle this baby to the ground. And of course, this strip that I'm cutting off can easily be used to decorate the edge of a page or whatever your little heart desires. So, okay, now we are within, okay, 3, 6 1/4. Perfect. But we're also too wide. But we don't care because we will fold that in, each side in, to make some pockets. And frankly, that is a very good strategy to use with wallpaper, because when you glue those pockets down, or tuck spots, or whatever you want to call them, it helps control the curling. So I should use a narrower or a shorter ruler. So we know that we want our pages to be no wider than 4 3/4. So that's roughly there. So that means about 1.5 inches could be our pocket. Now, before I make a firm crease, I'm going to see that, yes, that is good. I'm going to crisp up that fold with the bone folder. I'm going to reach over for my our glitter glue. I'm going to put the glue on the side that is the pocket, because then I know that I'll have just the right amount of glue. And again, if I would have been, you know, it's not that important, or I mean, it's an aesthetic thing, but if you want to really make it obvious that, yes, this is a pocket, then it would have been good for me to do punch the little divot before I glued it down. So on the other side, I'll do that first. Okay, so again, we can have a deeper pocket, or we can kind of have it roughly the same. I'm assuming that is the correct fold line 4, and so this could be slightly shallower. I think we're still at the, well, that's maybe cutting her a little close. I'll do it there. Kind of, again, just random. This time I'll do the divot before. And again, if you don't want to be bothered centering it, or you know, like measuring to get it centered, or maybe you don't trust your eye or whatever, you can very deliberately offset it. Put it at the top, put it at the bottom, and then no one thinks, "Ooh, she missed the mark there, boy." They just think, "Oh, that was a design choice she made." So again, I'm going to put the glue in the glue. And 2 ready-made pockets. Let's just cover this up, and some of these guys that I have, are those the only 2 I punched? Well, let's just put them in here so you can see what's happening. Now again, this is not the final placement. Now, there really is nothing much helping that. Maybe I would, you know what, let me open this up and put this further down in the pile so the weight and the pressure of some of these other pages will again help it flatten out a bit. And remember, if necessary, you might have to put some reinforcements in as well. Okay, two more things. I used to subscribe to O Magazine, and you know that quite often, I have no idea, I haven't seen an issue for years now, quite often there were quote cards, bookmarks, you know, those heavier papers that were perforated, and you could, so the other day I found this box, and I pre-sorted them. I sorted them by size. Now, I'm not going to waste any more of your time showing you the different piles, the different sizes, the different options. Mind you, I could make a bookmark work too. Huh. Well, let's do that. Okay, this is shorter, so we don't have as much to cut off. Let's use one of those short bookmarks. And let's pick a quote or a design here. Now, luckily, this paper is a little heavier, and it's got a little border, and it's got a quote on each side. So basically, the decorating is done. Let's just use the first one. It doesn't matter in the big picture. That's, poor tearing again. put it here. That'll make it lower. No, that'll make it higher. Let's do it near the top for a change. Because, you know, any pockets or whatever will tend to be at the bottom of the page. So that means that it's going to bulk up there the soonest. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but for the longest time, I and others were praying for rain. Oh, the heck! I did the opposite of what I said I was going to do. Goofball. I wanted to move the bulk to get some... Anyway, you know what? I hope you know what I'm trying to say there. Let's just trim this because this wasn't... Okay, so what do we have for height here? 3, 6 3/4, and we can only afford 6 1/4. Oh, you know what? Why don't I just fold that up? Make a little pocket. Okay, how tall do we want this to be? 5. Let's do, that's good enough. That it doesn't have to be that deep a pocket because so little of it will actually be visible. I mean, once the holes are punched in it. And I'm going to punch them on this side because this is sort of not printed straight. And okay, let's do what so if I do that, yes, it'll go higher. But then the hole will be in the pocket. What the heck? Let the hole be in the pocket. This is probably a poor place to try to save bulk. I'll just do it like so. Again, when you're making your template, maybe be a little more precise than I was so that you don't end up with kind of the issue that I had there. Okay, this is not by any means everything because, of course, all of these things haven't been... Or let me just quickly punch a few more and then we'll do like a little mini flip through. Boy, this barely... You know what? I think I'm not going to use this. This is going to... Oh, I'm doing it on the wrong side. I guess I can do this. I was going to say it barely will catch and it's going to be a point of weakness. I told you at the beginning of this video that my intention was to... This isn't going to work. If it was a... Oh, I intended to use this guy too. This is just part of a dust jacket. I guess he's not going to make the cut this time. And I didn't use any book pages, but you can imagine how that would work. So I'm not going to waste any more time doing that. I said at the beginning of the video that I was doing it for the benefit of helping any beginners maybe take that first tentative step. But I have to say I'm really enjoying this because it's easy and it makes me want to get in there and decorate it. Doing 2 of these at a time. This was that parchment paper. Now, I guess depending on another thing to think about is these pages that might need extensions added to them. Sometimes those holes might have to be repunched depending on, trying to get things that are roughly the same size here. The holes might need to be repunched once that extension is done. That's probably too thick for this. Okay, we're calling this the top. Oh, anyway, I started bringing up the rain. Yeah, you know, for many days, weeks there, I was talking about the need for rain because of the wildfire situation and because of farming and germination and all that jazz. So it began raining, and I think when my husband checked the rain gauge, we were at, I don't know, 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches or whatever. So, I mean, that's good. It is raining again pretty solidly here. I can hear it. You probably can't, but I know that there are some people who believe that on a day like this, the perfect place to be is under a quilt, snoozing, just listening to the rain. I don't have the luxury of doing that. Don't know if I could even fall asleep, to be honest. But so we want the pages the right side up. There's my top. I'm flipping this over though, so that I can kind of hold it where I want it. Oh, so this will be saving, like we don't have cattle anymore, so we don't make hay, but this will be saving people who do have livestock because, of course, pastures need moisture, as do hay crops. So I'm just going, these are all fairly thin, so I'll probably just, now is this, oh, that's, I'm going to leave this one out because it's kind of on the narrow side. I don't want the papers to tear. Now I could stagger these a bit, but hopefully not screw up and only end up with one hole. So let's see. Is that going to work on all 3 pages? That center one needs to come down. Again, just because I'm trying to save a nanosecond here doesn't mean that you should. And understand that it can also backfire. Trying to cut corners sometimes is false economy. Okay, that is everything that we have selected so far. So let's just throw these things in as I pick them up, and then we'll do a quickie. Flip through. Quickie. Okay. And, you know, as, like if you were sort of punching in and arranging these pages as you go, you would have a better idea. And of course, when I do the final, figure out the final order for these things, then I would try to balance off, you know, ones that are veering towards the top and ones that are down below. So this, of course, would never be the front page well, I shouldn't say never. Never say never. Because this little stubby thing here needs to have a page extension done it. But let's pretend that it's someplace else. We have that, and that, and that. You know, it just occurred to me. I'm so busy making these signature pages, but they're all, hey, let's try something out here. They should be inserted into each other. It shouldn't just be the way I was showing you. No, it's going to be a little trickier to get this lined up so I can almost left you there with a false impression. So yeah, I guess the way to do that would be to almost pretend, you know, decide on whatever the magic number is and let those be, okay, so say 5, whatever, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or is it only, no, it's only 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, let's pretend 4 was our magic number. Magic number of signature, of pages in a signature. And of course, this is ultra random. So then you do groupings of 4 pages, or whatever your number is. And then you'd end up with that many signatures. Now, I suppose the way I was doing it initially would be okay too, but it would be far more boring. Okay, so let's just kind of see what we have here. Maybe I'll take out the ones that haven't been embedded. Okay, so again, this is not the real page order, but okay, so we have this, then we have, so a different image, a different image, a different thing here. So that's signature 1. Signature 2. Now, of course, this makes for more binding off the paper, and I can see that. Yes, it definitely is much harder on those holes that have been cut. Let's do another one just for the heck of it and see if that is going to be true for all of them. So let's maybe do the wallpaper. And again, I'm not trying to do this color-wise or anything. I'm just trying to maybe get a selection of paper weights. So that's thicker, and let's do one of these singles. Oops, I didn't open that up. Okay, again, a little more challenging getting, maybe I'll do it on this side of the rings. Just because it gives me a little more room to maneuver. Okay, so let's pretend we're turning. I guess to make the pages turn a little more smoothly, you need to kind of have them up near the top of the ring. So if they were, okay, so let's see, as we're bulking this up. Okay, so we've got 3 signatures. We've got 12 pages in here so far. So let's pretend that, maybe let's do one more. I'm sorry that I'm making this long, but I think this is kind of a critical point here. So it could be that if a person wanted to, what else have we got here? If a person wanted to do it in a signature style, you'd probably end up with a lot fewer pages than I initially thought almost a nearly 2-inch spine would permit. And definitely the holes would need reinforcement. So that was what you witnessed there, people, is a light bulb coming on. So if you're ever tempted to believe, let's actually keep going here. If you're ever tempted to think that, oh, somebody has a YouTube channel, so they're an expert, they know every little thing, I would say don't believe it, or at least don't believe it in my case. I'm very much still learning on the go here. Okay, this is a heavy paper. Let's put it there, because we like to stress ourselves out. You know what? Let's be a little smarter about this. Let's make the signature cover, as it were, the thicker paper. And then I get complicated matters by making, sorry, can you see a darn thing? By adding that pocket. Okay, so that's 4 pages. So we'll thread those on there. Okay, what do we have left here? We've got a lot of these skinny little papers. I mean thin paper. Let's do a little raggedy. Let's do a tall one in between. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And then what do I have left here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's going to work out perfectly. It's like we had a plan. Go figure. Okay, that will be what we have here. So, again, threading this on there. Now this is not quite the same because this bookmark thing is just like that. Now we end up with these guys. So that looks nice against there. Mind you, that is definitely cardstock, that coloring page. Now this, I would not put all these dark colors in the same signature, but you understand that. Maybe let's turn this one this way. Maybe let's turn this one this way. Okay. And I guess another thing to keep in mind is that if your paper, if you're, I should have refolded that. If you're, like, you might want to keep your pages clipped together if you're not immediately putting them in, because with the directional ones, it's going to be easy to say, oh yeah, that was the top. But with the others, maybe not so much. And again, you hope that the rings fit properly. Okay. What have we here? Oh my goodness. It's seven signatures. How exciting. Okay. Fold, fold, fold. Oh, not so easy. Fold. Now again, maybe before doing anything remedial, you know, like maybe making a hole slightly larger, adding a reinforcement or whatever, maybe try the positioning in different places in, you know, like, I don't know if it's the cardstock that is making that tougher for those pages to turn, or if I was a little, but I tried to have it flush with this template, but you know I had an issue there, so, oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, signature 2. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, it seems that maybe when it's cardstock, there's less forgiveness there. So what a person could do, that might be the simplest solution, is on a page like this and a page like this, just cut them open. And they end up being, you know, single sheets. And probably wouldn't want to do 2 of those together. But again, I've said it 100 times, it's random, because we're just trying out something here. Okay, signature 3. Thinner paper, thick paper, thinner paper, but it's next to thick paper. So, yeah, that could be the wild card there. Okay, single bookmark, thin paper, thin paper, thin paper. Yeah, the cardstock seems to be the issue. So it could either be removed or, like I say, maybe cut open at the fold. Signature 4. Thicker, thin, thin, thin. Good. Signature, am I on 5? No, I'm on 6. Okay, 6. Thicker, thinner, thicker but soft, thin. Yeah, so I'm feeling better about that, knowing that there might be a remedy for those ones that don't turn as well. Another thing I could try, okay, let's do the last one. Thinner, I mean, kind of, well, whatever, medium. The other thing a person could do, let's take this signature out, put it somewhere else in the book. So if we were real mathematicians, we would know the number of pages, which is 7 times 4, 28 pages. We would know the mathematical formula for the number of permutations of combinations. See, this is still an issue here. So yeah, it's the cardstock that is the culprit. Since you've already been here for 3 hours. I'm going to indulge myself, if not you. If you're long gone, then you don't know I'm doing this. I'm cutting this open just to see what happens. The binding should definitely be eliminated. But as I say, I've been wrong before, so let's not get too excited. Okay, we're going to reflip. Oh, lovely little pocket. I don't know, still not the greatest, but better. Okay, guys, I am quitting here, and I hope that through this real life crafting, that that through this, and maybe this will never sit quite right like that because the hinge, I mean the doohickey is off. It's offset, it's not on the spine. But that's why God invented journal closures. You know, elastics or ties or ribbon or whatever. Through all of this fly by the seat of your pants operation, you are brave enough to try this. And the nice thing about this is there's so much room to grow here. So I'm going to continue working in this over, you know, over time as time and video ideas permit. Just because I want this to work, and I'm positive there's a way to make it work well. So yeah, some of them, and again, like I said, it's going to be also finding the right combination of papers in a signature, because where it's been nothing but thin pages, they turn so much better. And maybe, you know, maybe this cardstock has to be trimmed as well on this particular one. I mean, opened up. Anyway, let us stop there. And yeah, call it a day, and see you guys in the next one. I think did I say this was day 97? I hope so. Anyway, the number will be on the video title. See you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.